All right, let's just jump right into a really cool, kind of unsettling thought experiment. Imagine our world, but with a tiny difference. Well, a huge difference. What if Earth had rings? And I'm not talking about some faint little wisp of dust. I mean full-on, glorious Saturn-style rings.
I mean, think about that. You go to sleep under a totally normal sky, and you wake up, and suddenly our planet is wearing jewelry. It's an incredible image, right? A shimmering cosmic crown just there. It sounds beautiful, but what would that actually do to us?
So yeah, that's the big question we're going to tackle. What if Earth had Saturn's rings? And let me tell you, the answer is, well, it's a lot more complicated and honestly, way more terrifying than you'd probably guess. And you know, this whole idea actually came from a question from one of you. A viewer named Sarah asked, basically, why don't we have rings like Saturn? And Sarah, that is a fantastic question. The answer, as we're about to find out, is both absolutely beautiful and completely horrifying.
Okay, so before we dive into all the doom and gloom, let's just take a minute and appreciate the view. What would our new sky actually look like? Because this one change, it would completely rewrite our entire relationship with the cosmos, forever. The thing is, though, not everyone would get the same show. If you're living near the equator, say in Quito, the rings would be this unbelievable, solid band of light right over your head, horizon to horizon. But if you're way up north or way down south, like near the poles, it'd be more like a faint, kind of shimmery glow on the horizon, barely even there. So your address suddenly matters a lot. And the night sky? Oh, that would be completely different. The rings are basically made of super reflective ice and rock, so they'd be way, way brighter than the Milky Way. They'd cast this constant glow across the planet. So you can kiss true darkness goodbye, forever. That means the end of deep sky stargazing as we know it. A tough break for astronomy clubs. I guess poets would love it, though. All right, so the view is amazing. We've established that. But how do you even get rings like this? They don't just show up. Rings are born from some seriously violent cosmic events. And for Earth to get its own set of jewelry, something we all know and love would have to die. It all comes down to this concept in physics called the Roche limit. The easiest way to think about it is like a gravitational kill zone around a planet. If a smaller object, like a moon, drifts inside this limit, the planet's gravity is so much stronger that the tidal forces literally tear that smaller object apart. It gets shredded. So you can see where this is going, right? For us to get rings, our very own moon would have to spiral closer and closer to Earth. The second it crosses that Roche limit, that's it. Earth's gravity would just start ripping it to pieces. And it's not a big boom like in the movies. It's more of a slow, brutal, relentless shredding, turning our moon into trillions of tiny bits of orbiting ice and rock. So there we have it. Beautiful rings, made from the corpse of our moon. And this is where the pretty picture ends and the absolute nightmare begins. Because the first thing that happens to our modern world isn't a shadow or a climate disaster. It's silence. A complete technological silence. And here's why. The physics of it means that for a planet our size, the rings would have to orbit pretty close to us to be stable. And guess what else is in that exact same orbital space? Pretty much everything. All of our low Earth orbit satellites, the very backbone of our modern world, and the rings and our satellites, they simply can't exist in the same place. The fallout would be instant. I mean, within hours, our entire GPS network gets basically sandblasted into dust. All our satellite, internet, weather satellites, gone. That entire invisible web that connects our modern world, it just snaps. And trying to launch anything into space, forget about it. It'd be like flying through a planetary minefield at thousands of miles an hour. Suicidal. But honestly, a total communications collapse might be the least of our problems. The real killer is the shadow. These rings aren't see-through, they block the sun. And because of the Earth's tilt, that massive shadow would just crawl across the planet, plunging entire regions into darkness for months at a time. We're not talking about a cloudy day here. We're talking about real, deep darkness. Temperatures would plummet, crops would fail, instantly. And that brings us to what is probably the biggest, most world-ending problem of all, the climate. Because when you start blocking sunlight on that scale, you don't just make things a little chilly. You fundamentally break the entire engine that drives our planet's weather. So here's the deal. Our weather works because the sun heats the equator more than the poles. This temperature difference creates these huge circulating currents in the atmosphere called Hadley cells. They drive everything. But now you've got this giant ring shadow cooling huge parts of the planet totally unevenly. It would throw those currents into absolute chaos. Jet streams would go haywire. Monsoon seasons would just not happen. The entire climate map of the world would be scrambled. There's this quote in the source material that just hits the nail on the head. It says, "A ring system is basically a magnitude 15 earthquake that forgot to stop happening." And that's it, isn't it? It's not a single disaster that you recover from. It's a permanent state of emergency, a relentless grinding catastrophe that just never, ever stops.
And let's say somehow we survive all of that. We survive the tech collapse, the shadow, the climate chaos. Well, the fun's not over yet. Because rings aren't just a pretty static thing in the sky. They're an active, decaying system. And that means a whole new set of long-term grinding threats. For one, you've got the loss of night. That constant bright glow from the rings would be devastating for nocturnal ecosystems. Animals that hunt in the dark, their whole world is broken. Then there's the fact that the rings are always shedding little bits and pieces. We basically have a constant, never-ending meteor shower as particles burn up in the atmosphere. And finally, if any chunk of the moon survived, its gravity would be tugging on the rings, making the whole system unstable over thousands of years. It's just a mess. So, after all that, the shattered satellites, the deadly shadow, the chaotic climate, the constant decay, you have to ask the big question, could we actually live with this? Could humanity survive? Really, could we pull through? After everything we've just laid out, is survival even on the table? And the answer, amazingly, is yeah, probably. We're a really stubborn species. We adapt, we survive. But that's not the right question to ask. The real question is, what would that survival even look like? At what cost? And the cost would be everything we know. The very foundations of our civilization depend on predictability. Predictable sunlight to grow food, a stable climate, access to space. The rings would shatter all of it. So yeah, humans might survive, but civilization as we know it, not a chance. And this really gets to the heart of the whole thing. Earth works, our life works, because our planet is, in some very specific ways, incredibly boring. The sun comes up when it's supposed to. Gravity behaves. The seasons are reliable. That stability, that predictability, it isn't just a nice little feature, it's everything. So the next time you see one of those breathtaking pictures of Saturn and its rings, absolutely admire it. It's one of the wonders of the solar system. But maybe also take a second to appreciate that it's, over there. Some things are beautiful precisely because they're at a safe distance. Our own, simple, boring, ringless planet? Yeah, it's better this way. Earth is definitely better off naked.